All right, guys, today we're going to dip into a couple of different topics about the crazy world that is the whiskey world, right? All the closures and all of the new things coming up, all the new laws that are being made. How do you make sense of it? Well, I'm here to help you out with that. So stay tuned. You are listening to the Whiskey Shaman Podcast.
Welcome to the Whiskey Shaman Podcast.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here along the ride with me. Now we're in the shed. We're doing a little thing in here. You know what I mean? We're doing a thing. I am actually going to open up a sample and we're going to sip it. I'm not doing a blind. I'm not doing any of that today. We got a lot to talk about. So this sample was given to me by Brian over at the Chill Filter podcast. They are doing some amazing stuff. Go check them out as well. This is none other than Bunnahabhain 18. Yeah, I know. I'm special. What do you expect? So we're going to pop this open. We're going to have a little sippy sip. Sorry, I was doing yard work yesterday, and it's windy at my house all the time, 100% of the time. And, when that stuff blows around, it gets in your nose, it does a thing. I'm going to do approximately half a sample, which would be half an ounce, because it's a 1 ounce sample. Those of you in the Patreon, you get the video version of this. We'll see that it just has some masking tape with the name on it. Nothing fancy, and it doesn't have to be. Samples don't have to be fancy, and samples are greatly appreciated. And I thank all of the listeners who have given me samples, and I will gladly enjoy those. And if I drink your sample on the show, I'll give you a shout out. Which I try to give everybody a shout out. We're going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the topics. Like I said, we have quite a few topics, and this is just kind of a fun, kind of like what the heck is whiskey doing right now type thing. So just sit back, relax, grab you a drink. And if you're not drinking, drink you some water. If you're headed to work, whatever you're doing, just sit back, relax, and listen to the soothing sounds of my voice. No. One of the things I wanted to talk about, the housekeeping part, was 5-star reviews. Yeah, I know. I'm already grifting. I'm sorry. My nose is like trying to run on me. I've been sneezing all day. My eyes have been watering. I already took some sprays and stuff like that. We'll be fine, but still, you're just gonna have to hang out with me going through this. We're gonna go through this together, brother. Okay. 5-star reviews on the podcast, whichever one you prefer: Apple, Spotify, Podbean, whatever you're on. Amazon. I'm on Amazon as well. If you don't know, now you know. 5-star reviews. You can say whatever you want, as long as it's a 5-star review. If you want to diss me, if you want to say I suck, that's fine. Just please a 5-star review, because what 5-star reviews do is it helps other people see this show and see that it's moving up in the ranking, so to speak. And that helps me out, which means I can give you better content in doing that. The more people we have watching, the easier it is for me to get distilleries on and stuff like that, and we can talk and chat and do all the things. So in saying that, thank you. And another way you can support is through the patreon.com/the Whiskey Shaman, obviously. You can go over there and you'll get the video of this episode. You'll get before the scenes exclusives, all the thing. I do private podcasts for them. I sent over samples to all the patrons. It was just a really fun time. But yeah, and I'm constantly thinking of new things to do just for the patrons. And if you know of any patrons out there, ask them. They'll tell you I'm trying my best out there. It's the world we live in. I'm sorry. I'm trying. All right, let's get into this Bunnahabhain real fast, and then we'll get into our story. And I do have Glencairns and Challenge coins still available if you want some. Whiskey Shaman Podcast at Gmail. grifting over. I'm done. I'm not. There's no ad reads on this one. There's nothing. We're just chilling, just you and I. So, man, that is sherry. A sherry bomb. You can hear my nose, right? I'm sorry. That is a sherry bomb. But it's also, it's not briny. It's a mineral. Has some minerality to it. Just on the nose. I don't know what the proof is on this thing. But doesn't really matter. I might be able to tell you on the taste. Let me go in for a sip. Pause for sip. Oh, that's nice. I like that. Oh, it's malty, super malty. It tinges on the slightest bit of smoke, but it's not smoke. It's more like if you overcharred a barrel, it's some of that. It's like not smoky. It's not even like smoked cocktail. Like it's not like that. It just has that earthiness to it. Excellent pour. I would say, if I had to guess, which I like to guess a lot, I would say possibly 46% alcohol. Really good. I'm going to enjoy that for the rest of the show, if you want to call it, the rest of the episode. I got my trusty water here. I didn't fill it up all the way. Probably gonna have to pause and fill it up more. Anyway. I am on the struggle bus. I'm not going to lie. My nose, my face is on fire. It's literally on fire. Excuse me. I got to get up. This is high quality H2O right here, man. This is, we're doing some amazing things. Anyway, moving on. Okay. So I wanted to talk about the ever evolving whiskey world, right? And why? Why do I want to talk about that? Because there's so many things happening right now, especially, and I'm not trying to talk about political things or anything like that, but with the tariffs that are going on, with all of the, I'm going to say it, with all the backbiting that's going on with different distilleries around the world, I'm not just talking in the United States, I'm talking around the world. There's a lot of, I don't know how to say it the right way without incriminating or saying something weird. Okay, there's a lot of love in whiskey. When we talk to distilleries, you see they constantly talk about other brands that they know and love and that they want to be collabed with, or they have collabed with, or they're like, hey, you need to talk to this person too, type thing. So the whiskey community, excellent. But in the whiskey world, it's very competitive, right? We're there. I'm not there. Well, I mean, I guess I am too. I'm competing for shelf space as well. But it's one of those things where, okay, here's a perfect example. I'm going to give you the perfect example. And you guys might have, constantly adjusting everything. Bro, I told you I was on the struggle bus, and I am legit struggling right now. And it's not that I can't postpone this and do it next time. I can, but I have the time, so I'm going to do it right now. We'll see how bad it sucks. If it sucks too bad, I won't release it. If I keep sniffing and snorting and stuff like that, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance for that. So here's the deal. I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but Westward Whiskey, filed for bankruptcy. We talked about it a little bit when I was doing the Germs Blind Challenge Showdown, Blind Sample Showdown, whatever. It doesn't matter. It does matter to him, obviously, but I'm the winner. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We haven't really talked since then. I released the episode, and if you listen to it or watched it, I actually released the video part of it as well on Spotify. I don't think it goes to Apple. I think it just goes to Spotify. Anyway, I won a bottle. Excellent. It hasn't arrived yet. I'm hoping it will show this week. Anyway, that's beyond what I was trying to talk about. We talked about the Westward. Sorry. Not closure. They're filing for bankruptcy. Well, they were already in all of that. They were already partially working with a subsidiary of Diageo to help with brand recognition and getting them out there. So what we think in the whiskey community, and nothing has been said publicly about this or anything, what we think in the community is that Diageo is going to buy them out and hopefully not change anything. And hopefully they will be there. Okay, just because you file for bankruptcy, that doesn't mean the doors close, right? It just means that there's some restructuring, rebranding, possibly. You're obviously, I wouldn't say, I mean, if I was to file for bankruptcy, I would be in dire straits, right? I don't know if like these businesses like this, if that's the case. I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor, but I feel like it was a strategic move to whereas the assets because when you file for bankruptcy, it doesn't mean you're dead. It doesn't mean that your company is over. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means liquidate your assets basically, which makes them easier to move around, if that makes sense. So in doing that, Diageo can go in there. We're thinking, we don't know. It could be Pernod, it could be, Campari, whoever. But I would think Diageo, since they already have a foot in the door with them, can come in there, buy them out, give the owners, which they focus on whiskey, but I think it's a different name of the brand. So like the Spirit Company makes Westward whiskey. It's their biggest product by far. Here's the part that hurts my heart. And this is what affects the whiskey world, right? And the whiskey community and the whiskey ever-changing parts of it. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today, because it's not just good things, it's not just bad things, it's things. Things are changing. Like it or not, things are changing. Westward makes some pretty awesome whiskey. I have three or four bottles of Westward. Really good stuff, right? They're doing really cool things. The issue is if you don't have the capital or if you don't have the wherewithal to, it takes a lot of money, time, energy, blood, sweat, tears, all the things to have a distillery. We've talked to many, many distillers that tell us that. It literally is an all-consuming thing all the time. So if you don't have that, I'm not going to say if the drive is gone, because I don't feel like Westward's drive is gone. I think it was a structural play that they did so that they could get bought out and recoup what they lost or what they were losing or whatever. People are still, companies especially, are still very much reeling from COVID. Very much so. There's a lot of hands at play there. And so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is how we're going to have to do it now, right? It's a little bit different, which some people like, some people don't like. Like one of the things I noticed, and I'm not trying to talk about this, but it came to mind, so I'm going to say it. A lot of the restaurants totally rebranded during COVID, right? They totally rebranded during this time. There's a Mexican food restaurant in San Antonio that's not even close by me, but whatever, called Chewy's. right? And they used to have really, really pretty awesome Mexican food, right? They changed their menu during COVID because it was like grab and go type thing, right? Well, they never changed it back. It's been what, 5 years now? They never changed it back because they don't have to, because they can still make their money selling a third of what they had on the menu, which sucks. Now they still have the basics, right? They're going to have the basics no matter what. And I think that's what happened with some of the distilleries. And again, I don't know. Maybe not. But I think that had a lot to do with a lot of these topics that we're going to talk about today. Be it good nor bad, right? It just is. It's the thing. So, in saying all that, like these brands, both Chewy's and Westward, they had to make a decision, and that decision was, we're going to stay with our old menu, or we're going to file for bankruptcy. Now, they had just released a bunch of really cool stuff. So I'm like, you have hype behind you. Why are you? So that's what makes me think it's a internal thing. It wasn't so much the fact that they're not producing product, but we've talked in the past. It takes a lot of money. If you want to be a halfway decent craft distillery in the world, period, the capital gains, or the capital that you have to start that, double it, triple it now. So that's the thing. Like, distilleries don't, okay, they make money. Don't get me wrong. It's a money-making business. But they don't make the type of capital that you would think they would. Because, like, let's say a distillery charges, I'm just throwing a number out there, charges $10,000 to the public for a barrel of whiskey. And let's say they can barrel 20 barrels a day. That's not that much, but let's say, so you think about that, like 10 times 20, that's, like that's a lot of money a day that they could make in revenue. But you also have to think the price of the grains have gone up, the price of the barrel has gone up, the warehousing, the electricity, the heat for the steam unit, employees, having payroll, all the things. And so when you have a larger company where, Westward isn't huge, but it's big enough, there's a lot of outgoing minus the amount of incoming, right? Supply and demand, right? There is a demand there, but when your supplies are more expensive than they were 2 years ago, that's where the crux comes in. That's where the little oops, because who could foresee the future like that, right? Especially during, 2020. Who could have foreseen what was going to happen? But so you can't blame them, right? They were just laying barrels down. They were doing what they were doing, and whoops. And this affects a lot of the other people that we're talking about as well. So it's really sad, but hopefully they restructure and they come back, and they're Diageo, or if Diageo purchases them, they come back and they don't change anything. And then the next thing you know, they're just making product again. That's my thought. That's what I hope. But who knows, right? I'm not a market research analyst or anything like that. So I have no idea how that's going to play out. Just keep your eyes out for that, because I found it rather interesting. We'll just say that. All right. So that leads me to my next topic. I guess you could say. It's really viscous, man. It's super viscous. Wow. Okay. The next topic, Green River Yeah, Green River Distilling. Same thing. Same thing. I don't know the exact. I lied. I lied to you. I'm sorry. I actually had to look it up, and I should look up everything. And I knew about the Westward thing, but Green River laid off 25% of its employees, which is 26 employees. Again, it says right here they have undergone significant operational changes, including layoff and organizational restructuring to adapt to the shifting market conditions. The parent company of Green River has been rebranded to Lofted Spirits, united in its consumer brand to contract distill services under this umbrella. That's from the Owensboro Times. Blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to find you some. So why? So we talked about Brown-Forman, obviously laying off people. There was another one that did the same, and now Green River. So Green River, if I'm not mistaken, Green River and Barton are the same. Same? No, maybe not. I don't know. If I'm wrong, let me know. So they laid off 25% of their employees, but yet they're still restructuring to better produce product, which for me, I understand. Like sometimes you have to refocus and you have to put your money back into what it was originally there for. But the parent company of Green River, called Lofted Spirits, whatever that is, obviously they own other brands as well. So, I mean, Green River is one of those ones they've been around for the name. The name has been around for a long time. Just recently, it came back as an actual distillery. So I think that's part of it. Is like, oh man, how do I say this? I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the black pill guy that's like, we're screwed. No more whiskey's going to be made. That's not me. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to say things like that. But at the same time, there are entrepreneurs out there that know their way around whiskey. Don't get me wrong. They know their way around a whiskey. They are buying up companies or opening ghost companies, right? Companies of that have long been passed, right? They're opening these up and rebranding them, and then they're making product and they're putting it on the shelf, and people are liking it. I've heard. I actually have a bottle of Green River in the house. I haven't opened it yet. I need to open it. No, I need to open bottles. I'm doing it. I'm actively doing it. I opened 2 bottles this weekend, so don't say I'm not. I just don't drink through it that fast. Like I sit here and I drink this little sample, and I'm done. You know what I mean? So take that for what it is. And of course, it's 18-year-old Bunnahabhain. It's not Green River. And it's not Westward either. I did have a sample of what, not today, but I did have a sample of Westward. It was excellent. Anyway, why do you think these entrepreneur types and these bigger companies, they buy up these smaller companies? Or they open up these brands that are contract distilling for people? And it's basically just a workhorse. It's a workhorse distillery. It's not one of these fancy ones with a tasting room and none of that. You literally go and they make whiskey for other people. They put it in a barrel, or they'll sell you the White Dog, whatever. Those types of distilleries are needed. They're very much needed because there are a lot of non-distilling producers out there that are trying to make product as well. And if you can get a halfway decent product, like from Green River or Barton or Giant here in Texas, right? If you can get a halfway decent product, then it's easier to sell your brand if the whiskey tastes good. I mean that just kind of makes sense, right? So the fact that they're laying off, is it a future? Does it make the future brighter or does it make it darker? I think it's a twofold question personally, but I don't know. Again, I haven't done the market research or anything like that. Companies buy up other companies. They foreclose. They file for bankruptcy. They refocus their brands all the time. All the time. This isn't a new thing. This isn't one of those things where you're like, oh, I've never heard of this. No, this happens all the time. It's just so happens that now, in the past couple of months, it has been a lot. And it has been a lot of brands that you know and brands that you care about. You know, nobody cares that the Gap and Old Navy are the same. It's the same company. You know, nobody cares about that. Everybody cares that I can still buy Wild Turkey the way I buy Wild Turkey, right? Even though they were bought as well. And it's nothing against these big companies. It's nothing against those. They're doing a thing, and they have a part in the game, right? They have a part in the game. I do have a problem with monopolizing said field, and they are. I mean, the big guys are monopolizing because they get all of the shelf space, and the craft guys get one little section, right? Or one little. You can have one bottle on the shelf. Well, that doesn't help me a whole lot, you know. So, and distribution and stuff. Anyway, we're not talking about that. So where does it lead us? Where does going down that path lead us? And I don't know if these big parent companies, for one, I don't know if they care where it leads us, because they're still going to be making spirit somewhere. Might not be here, but they'll be making it somewhere else. Whiskey's not going away. It's just going to change. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this. And this is a very opinion-based talk because I don't know. I've talked to people in the fields. You know, I've reached out to people to ask them questions about things, and I get very vague answers. Well, this is just business. It's just business. This is how it goes. Companies get gobbled up all the time. Yeah, you're right. They do. It's just strange that it's happening quite a bit here lately. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm sorry, I'm snorting in the mic too. I'm such a pig. I tell you what, that Bunnahabhain. Nice. That's real nice. Okay. So you have to enjoy the silence as well. Like, I'm gathering my thoughts, so I'm not umming and ahhing and stuff like that. I'm trying to be better for you. So just understand that. If I don't talk for a second, it's not because I'm lost. It's because I'm trying not to just ramble. Okay? Just understand that. And I need a new chair. I mean, that's just it. I need a new chair. This chair not working for me. It's making my legs hurt. My back's hurting. My back was hurting yesterday anyway because I'm mowing the dang yard. You know what I mean? Weed eating, mowing. Finished up the part of the garden. I know we're late. We're late to the game. I hadn't even put nothing in the ground yet. But, you know, we didn't do it for 2 years because of, you know, things. Listen to past episodes. You'll know what I'm talking about. And so we had a lot of restructuring, a lot of moving of funds. And that's the thing. Like, when you don't have the money, and this goes into personal life as well, right? When you don't have the money to do the things that you once did, this business and this is life at the same time, then you have to find a different way. You have to do it a little bit differently. You have to pinch that penny. You gotta save. You gotta, sometimes you gotta suffer. Sometimes you gotta suffer a little bit. I know, and I've talked to you guys about this before. I told myself I wasn't going to buy any whiskey this year. And I bought a bottle, not recently, but I bought a bottle at Andalusia, of course. So, but I'm not trying to incriminate myself or anything. I did go back on what I said. And I kind of feel bad for it, not going to lie, because I financially don't need to be buying bottles, period. I don't, not right now. If we're almost to May, this will probably come out in May. So not bad, 5 months, one bottle, it's okay. It'll be fine. It's a lot better than I was doing. So sometimes I was buying 3 bottles a week, sometimes more, and then buying online bottles and stuff like that too. So when monetarily it's not good for you to be spending more than you should because you have income and debt, you know what I mean? And when the debt is higher than the income, that's called life. No, that's called being real. No, it's difficult, right? It's difficult when you have more bills than you have money. And you work hard, you do your thing. And I'm talking about the distilleries as well. They work hard, they do their thing, they're trying really hard. They have a great experience at the distillery. They sell bottles, they got good shipping, they're doing everything right except having money. And I'm going to quote scripture here. I don't know where in the Bible it says this, but it does say this. The love of money is the root of all evil, right? Listen to what I said there, though. The love of money. Money is needed in life. That's how we do our things, right? That's how we pay for things as of right now, till they scan your forehead. That is how we do that. Have you seen in those new stadiums? I think the Staples or what is it? The one in LA, that new one, super cool looking. You walk in, you have a credit card on file when you walk in, and you literally just walk into you go up and get a beer or whatever to go watch the soccer game or the hockey game or whatever, and they don't charge you for it. It automatically comes out of your account. They have retinal scanning. They do all those things, all this high end stuff. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool, but at the same time, it's scary. It's obviously very scary because people walk into the stores and they'll just pick stuff out and walk out, which you would think, okay, that's shoplifting. No, they already got charged on the way out, so it's not that big of a deal. We have to get up with the times, right? I understand that. We do. We have to be up with the times. But invasion happens and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. I'm sorry. The love of money is the root of all evil. We have to have money in the way that we do things. So it's a necessary, what we call a necessary evil, right? We work, we do our job, we get paid for our job, right? No matter what we do, we get paid for our job. So with these distilleries, it's the same way, only they have a lot of overhead. Their overhead is immense. And that's why bottles are going up. It's hard to find a good $30, $40 bottle of whiskey right now. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can do it. You can find them, but they're not the greatest whiskey. That's why a lot of craft distilleries are charging $80, $90 a bottle for some of their baseline stuff because they just don't have the capital to sell it for cheaper. Glass is more expensive. Corks are more expensive. That's why a lot of people are going to screw tops now. Which they're probably not that much cheaper. I haven't done the market research on it, but so yeah. So saying all that, the doom and gloom of all that, the whiskey market is the whiskey market, right? It is what it is. We can't really combat it. If you want to buy the bottle, you're going to have to pay a little more for it, unfortunately. I think that's the way of the world, right? Look at your eggs, look at your other things. And I don't want this to be that. I don't want this to be us. We're just making do with what we got, right? I understand. But the whiskey world is changing. And I see this thing, and I talked to somebody on a podcast. And it hasn't came out yet, so I'm not going to tell you who it was, but it was a banger for sure. And they told me that American single malt in itself is beating out Scotch. It's beating out Irish in America now. I don't know the case study on it. I don't know any of the ins and outs, but it would make sense. Now, I'm a Scotch and Irish lover. I love it. But I would probably pick an American single malt as well. Depending upon what it was, unless it's an 18-year-old Bunnahabhain, right? Which is more expensive. Which Scotch is more expensive. Irish can be more expensive. I know that Redbreast 12 cask strength went up quite a bit from the last time I saw it. Hibiki Harmony, right? Really cool bottle. It's like over $100 now for a blended Japanese whiskey. Take that for what you can, right? So people are looking to more American because I'm not trying to be this dude bro. I'm not trying to be the dude bro saying, but American only. No, that's not what I'm saying. I feel like world whiskey is amazing. Indian single malts and Tasmanian single malts and freaking, Canadian rye. We'll get into that one too, guys. But American single malt is coming into its fruition now. People are like, yes, American single malt, finally, which we've been doting it for years, haven't we? I've been loving American single malt from the beginning, right? It's having a day, and it's amazing, and I love it. And people are recognizing it, and they're going out and they're buying American single malt. They're not buying the Scotches because, and not all, hashtag not all brands, Scotches and Irish, I don't think they expected the turnout that America has given them. It has given American single malt, that is, because are Scotches and Irish, are they innovating in some ways? The ones that are innovating, like Waterford, closed down. Methods of Madness, right? They're not really producing. I haven't seen a new bottle on the shelf. All of these brands, these newer craft brands, if you can find the Scotch craft brands out there, they're giving you a good single malt or a good Scotch, but they're not innovating really. Now, Ardbeg and some of the big players, yeah, they do special releases and stuff like that. But is that innovation? Is that changing? No. Again, not going to poo-poo anybody. But is that innovating? Because in the Texas Whiskey Festival episode that we talked about, I talked about Texas whiskey is innovating. They're doing things. They're doing different things. They're trying things. Scotch and Irish, love them to death. Love them for it. They've been in the same routine for a very long time. Are they innovating in their own way? Yeah. Some of them are using new casks. Some of them are, experimenting with different barrel aging and different proofs. And yes, they are. But the whiskey consumer right now, today, is more informed and more understanding than they were, say, even 5 years ago. The whiskey consumer now cares what's in the glass. They care what's in the glass. They're not, and they do. There's still people that buy Jim Beam Black Label, Jack Daniel's Black Label. I'm not saying it's not good whiskey, right? But they are also looking for, I want something different and unique. They're putting their money where their intrigue is. This is different. This is new. This is strange, even. I want to try. If I'm going to spend $100 on a bottle, I want it to be a Tasmanian single malt finished in blah, blah, blah. You're right? Right? I don't want to get Lagavulin 16, which is well over $100. I love Lagavulin 16. Don't get me wrong. But I would rather spend my money on an interesting bottle than a shelfer. Does that make sense? And I feel, and not, again, hashtag not all brands, I feel like Scotch and Irish have dedicated their brands to shelf bottles. Make it make sense, right? I understand why. Because, okay, shelf bottles for America, right, and Canada. Shelf bottles for the rest of the world. You go to Scotland, it's totally different over there, right? You can get single casks of, Lefroy and whatever all day. I guess. I don't know. I've never been there, but I'm sure you could. Here, it's hard to find Lefroy 10 sometimes. It really is. They have it. They want to give you the Lefroy, what's it called? The other one. There's other ones like the quarter cask or something, which are great. Don't get me wrong. They're all great. It's harder to find the baselines. But that's what they're sticking with. Now Lefroy and Ardbeg and all these other brands that, Glenmorangie, they're constantly doing innovative stuff and they're trying different things. People like Compass Box. Now, they are different, obviously. They're taking other people's whiskey, blending it together, doing cool finishes to it, whatever, and then packaging it as their own, which is cool. I love that. They're doing very different things. So American Single Malt has been innovating from the beginning because they had to, because everybody was so used to drinking Scotch and Irish. And the Scotch and Irish that they drank was like Jameson and this, you know what I mean? So back then, 20, 40, 30 years ago, whatever. So they innovated. They're like, no, we're going to do this slightly peated, heavily matured in wine barrels, not sherry, but wine barrels. And we're going to use different types of grain, different types of malt, like Maris Otter or, like all of these adjunct grains, right? Where it's like caramel pills and all this stuff. They're using these to give it different flavor. They're innovating, right? Whereas Scotch and Irish typically are using a base grain, making a base whiskey, putting it in a used cask, letting it sit for 10 years, and releasing it. Then they will release a cask strength version of that same one. Then they will have one that's fully sherry matured, which is very typical. It's very typical. And I love that. I love that I can go get a Springbank 15, and I know it's going to taste like Springbank 15 20 years ago or 20 years in the future. I love that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything bad about these brands at all. What I'm saying is the innovation. The only time they innovate, and again, this is opinion, the only time they innovate is when they're having festivals or they're having, somebody comes in and they do like a single cask pick or something like that. We call them cask over there instead of single barrels. Or they do some one-off or have a collaboration with somebody else or, the Offerman edition or something like that, right? That is like the only time they're doing it. Every other time they are presenting you their non-chill filtered, 46%, no color added. Again, great stuff. Never going to turn it down, but isn't innovating. And that's what American Single Malt is doing. They're innovating. And I would say other bourbon brands in Kentucky and outside of Kentucky now doing amazing things. Case in point, are you ready? Larrikin Bourbon Company. They were on the podcast. Great guys. Greg Keeley over there. He is amazing, doing amazing things. He did a 100% Canadian rye whiskey finished in cognac barrels. That's innovation. That's weird. Not weird, right? That's different for a bourbon company to do. And it says on there, it's sourced, it's this and that. Totally transparent, right? Well, they just released, or they are releasing one called Rosewater. It is proof down with a rosewater tea, whatever. That it was made for the Derby or whatever, the rose ceremony. Super cool, super innovating, super different. Sure, it's pretty good. Greg, I haven't got a sample of it. Just saying. No. Maybe Tom with the bourbon jerk. He actually got a bottle of it. I'll see if I can get a little sample from him, maybe. Anyway, bourbon, rye whiskey is innovating. All these people doing cool stuff with rye. They're innovating. They're doing different things. So what that does, that changes the way that people look at whiskey, right? People are still going to be out there trying to get Blantons. Yes, they are. They're going to. But it's almost, how do I say this the right way? It's almost become a joke. Blanton's in itself. I can drink Blanton's. It's fine, right? There's a lot of other better whiskey out there, though. But people are becoming more informed, especially American people, of the differences that you have your baseline whiskeys, right? You always have your baseline whiskeys there. Bourbons, ryes, finished, whatever. But then when somebody innovates and somebody does something different and it catches on, I'm going to talk about it, but I didn't like it. The Amberana craze that went through. Somebody did it. I don't know who was the first one. Might have been Nulu. I don't remember. Somebody did it, and they were like, oh, it sold like hotcakes because it was different, right? Was it great? No, probably not. And then everybody and their dog, literally everyone did it. Myself included. I did that Rio clone here on the show or on a video that I did, right? I got into the craze of it. I got gifted, or I won a Rio. I actually won a Rio. So we'll pop that open one day soon. It was the newest batch, which I heard was really good. So we'll pop it open one day. And we'll go from there. All right, so on to the next heading. All right, guys, this next heading, I was trying to get more information on it, and I can't really find it. So take that for what it is. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about this, and I'm not trying to pick on my Canadian boys out there. I'm not. I love you guys, but I heard, again, opinion, I heard that they were trying to either press charges or sue or get a restraining order or a copyright or something for overseas, aka UK distilleries using the word rye whiskey. I know that Powers, the Irish whiskey, they made a rye, 100% rye. It was excellent. Oh man, it was so good. Killed that bottle. How do I feel about this? Let's talk about this. Okay, Canada, they make some of the best whiskey out there. A lot of the stuff they do goes into blends. They keep all the good whiskey for themselves, and they keep it in-house. They don't ship it out. It's very difficult. Shelter Point, Macaloni's, all these people doing amazing, amazing Canadian whiskey. Macaloni's actually got sued by these Scotch people for using Glen as well. That was 2021. That was very recently. And of course, they didn't win because Glen is not a trademarked name, just like rye. Rye is not, you can't trademark a grain, right? You can't trademark a grain. Now, here's the thing. If, say, Powers, for instance, was to source Alberta premium 100% rye whiskey and slap their label on it and call it Irish rye, that is illegal, yes. But they didn't. They grew their own rye whiskey, or their own rye, made whiskey out of it, and sold it as rye whiskey from Powers. Okay. This might be not a touchy subject, but this might invoke some emotion, right? In some people, myself included. We already have enough division, and I'm going to loop myself into that poll as well in the whiskey world, right? Everybody's, for some reason, it's the time, it's the whatever. A lot of people are getting a little angry. They're like, hey, I did that first. You can't do it. Okay, I get it. You did it first. You did it the best. Nobody should be able to make rye whiskey, period. Well, no, America can do it, just not the UK. Okay. And again, opinion based. I read a big article about it. I've tried to go back and find it. And of course, my phone updated. Oh, gosh, all the websites are gone. Anyway, long story. Should have saved it. I know, I'm sorry. So I could be wrong about some of this, but I don't think I am. I don't know if they're trying to sue the Scotch Whisky Society or the Scotch Malt Academy or whatever, or if they're just like a cease and desist, quit doing that. But like Canada makes amazing rye whiskey, obviously. I was just talking about the Larrikin rye, right? It's great. Alberta especially. There's a lot of grain, contract distilling up there. Whistle Pig uses a lot of Canadian rye, and it's excellent. You drink the dog out of it, don't you? So I say all that to say this. Does Canada have the right to be angry? No, they don't. It's the only, they're trying to, I guess, I'm gonna say it like this, I guess. I don't know if they're trying to trademark the name rye whiskey or what, but anybody, any country, any person, whatever, can make rye whiskey. It's a grain. You know what I mean? It's a component of whiskey. You can make it the sole component of whiskey if you want. I don't understand what the bitching is about. Okay? I just don't. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. That they want to have something that's inherently theirs. That's called Canadian whiskey. It's made in Canada. And only in Canada can it be called Canadian whiskey. I can't open a distillery and start making Japanese whiskey. No. It has to be made in Japan. Period. That in itself is unique enough. What you need to do is work on making your rye whiskey the best freaking rye whiskey out there, and it won't matter. And actually sell it to people instead of using it in blends for Crown Royal. Right? That's how I feel. If you're going to do the thing, if you're going to complain and bitch about it, then make the product and show us we make the best rye whiskey there is. You know what? The other night, I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon. I think it was last night, actually. I opened up a bottle of New Riff. It's a newer distillery in Kentucky, right? Really cool. The bottle's super cool. It's like black, painted black, and it was a 100% malted rye whiskey, bottled and bond, 6-year-old. Knocked your socks off. My socks. I wasn't wearing socks at the time, but if I been wearing socks, they would have fallen off for sure. One of the best rye whiskeys I've had recently. I'm going to do a blind very soon, possibly on a podcast. And it will be up against Thomas H. Handy It will be up against Dad's Hat, which I might be able to pick out the Dad's Hat pretty easily. And it will be up against another rye whiskey. I'll find one. I've got maybe the Larrikin. You know what I mean? I'm going to do a blind and see which one I like the best. Because that one, oh man, something about it. It just hit. It was so creamy and velvety, but like a little spicy, but not super bad. And it was a bourbon drinker's rye. And it was 100% malted rye. So cool. So unique. So, yeah, doing cool stuff, right? And they have a sherry finished one, cask strength. Haven't had it yet. I'm hoping my buddy Joshua, he gives me a hookup on one, you know what I mean? Now, man. Anyway, does Canada have the right to copyright rye? What do you think? Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. They don't. They don't have the right to do that. I think, personally. You can't copyright a grain, usage of a grain. America, the lower 48, right? Or, well, I guess the 50 states. We have something that's specifically ours, right? And that's bourbon. Bourbon can only be made in America, right? That is true. Texas can make it, Missouri, California. All right. Not just Bourbon County. Yeah. Okay. So when Canada, or Crown Royal, I'll say, I won't call them Canada, I'll call them whoever we want. They tried to make a bourbon, or they did make a bourbon. They can make a bourbon mash, right? With corn, wheat, barley, rye, whatever. They can make a mash. They can put it in new oak. They can, release it at over 2 years and make it straight. But they don't have the legality of calling it bourbon. It's just a grain whiskey at that point. You can have it, say, distilled from a bourbon mash, maybe, possibly not. Using the terminology bourbon mash means that it has to be made in America. So you would have to say made from a mash bill of 51% corn, 24% rye, whatever the rest of it is. Right? You would have to do that. And I guess they didn't want to do that. Well, Crown Royal, they came up with, I have it sitting up there. I haven't even opened the bottle because I thought it might be a collector's piece one day. And it says bourbon mash on it. And they got sued for it. And I don't know if that's their way of getting back. And I don't think Canadians are inherently angry, right? No, I've never met an angry Canadian. I think it might be their way of kind of getting back and poking back and saying, we need something that's ours. We need something that's ours. And I understand that. But like I said earlier, Canada is unique. And the way that they do things is very unique. And they are some of the best blenders in the world. No doubt. I will say that again. They are some of the best blenders in the world. But they are blending to a profile, right? And they are putting neutral grain spirit. They have a 9% clause in Canada where they can put 9% wine. Yeah, we can go do a whole episode on that. Which I'm not doubting it. Some Canadian whiskeys are absolutely amazing. So I'm not going to poo-poo it at all. I'm not. But the fact that they're trying to get in a tizzy over nomenclature, over Scotland tried to do a rye whiskey. Okay, let them do a thing. They can make a bourbon mash as well if they really want to. As long as it doesn't say bourbon on it, right? And I don't know if that's what they're trying to say. Like I said, rye. So we do rye. We've been known for rye forever. And I'm like, I get that. I get that you've been known for making rye, really great rye for a long time. But you're not the pinnacle of rye making. Sorry. Maryland rye, all these other, and they're totally different. They're not the same type of rye. Even the grain is different. There's Prosecco, there's Bruzy, there's so many different types of rye, so many different species of rye. It presents a different profile. Malted rye, 50% malted, 50% unmalted, all of those things, right? Like, just make good products. Quit bitching, right? Just quit. I've said enough about that. I really have. If anything else comes up about it, I will maybe blip it in another show. But I'm kind of done with it at this point because I'm like, it's really a non-issue. It really is. It really is a non-issue. Yeah, I don't know. So, in conclusion, I'm going to wrap up. Give me about 15 more minutes. I'm going to wrap up. Ready? Cheers. Man, that's nice. In conclusion, the whiskey world is ever changing. The whiskey that you have today will not be the whiskey you have tomorrow. The whiskey you drink will not be the whiskey that your kids drink. The whiskey our parents drank is not the same whiskey that we drink today. The whiskey is ever evolving. It's ever changing. It's ever moving. And that's what makes it inherently appealing, is that no matter, I could line up 15 different head distillers with all the same ingredients. All they could change one aspect of it. Maybe a yeast, maybe adding more corn, adding less corn, or we could just do single malt, whatever. It doesn't matter. Every one of those distillates would be different. Guaranteed. So that's what makes whiskey in itself so unique and so different from a lot of other spirits. When you're making vodka, for instance, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. That is the only thing I will quote Fred Minnick on, is vodka does suck. It's not that it sucks. It's odorless, colorless, tasteless. It's just ethanol. It's a means to an end to get you to a place that you want to go. It is an alcoholic component to a cocktail. That's it. Good vodka doesn't taste like anything. Good whiskey can change your life. I'm being, whatever. I have had whiskey that has been night changing for sure. Mood changing, yeah, for sure. Blown people's minds, absolutely. I've had some really crappy stuff too, but it comes with the territory, right? So that's the thing. The architecture of whiskey. Name a whiskey, right? It is nothing like said other whiskey that is just like it. And it's so cool because there's so many factors in making whiskey that make it totally unique, right? Like when you make a gin, you can alter the botanical load that goes in there. You can put more juniper. You can put less juniper. You can put angelic root. You could put cardamom pods. You could put whatever you want. Hawthorn berries. Rose of Sharon petals. Rose petals. Literally anything. Obviously, it has to be food safe, right? You can't put like toenails or something like that in it. Maybe you can. I don't know. But whiskey in itself, and I know that brandies can be like this, but they too, I'm going to say it like this, have a vintage, right? They come from grapes. Grapes only have so much flavor, and there is different varietals of grape, and there's red, there's white, there's, whatever. I get it. But like whiskey in itself, you change one grain component, you alter one thing in the process, it changes the whiskey completely. You take a 100% bourbon mash, a 51 27, 24, whatever. You know what I mean? Did I do that right? No, I didn't. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? And you put it in a used barrel. I know it has to be in a new barrel. Let's say you finish it in a used barrel. You put it 2 years in a new barrel and then 2 years in a used barrel. That whiskey is going to taste so different when you pull it out next to the one that sat in the same barrel for 4 years. Totally different. So cool. And then you change one of the grains, or you change the yeast, or you change the char on the barrel. You change where it was sitting in the warehouse, in the rick house, right? We did a whole episode just on rick houses. You know what I mean? So like, there's so many nuances to whiskey. And I think that even though we've talked about some things tonight or today that could sound pessimistic, could sound, I don't want to say it like that, could sound downtrodden. That's not it. The whiskey world is bright and it's shining and it's out there. It's all over the place. People are doing cool stuff. They're doing weird stuff. They're doing awesome stuff. Is it whiskey? Yeah. Is it Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey? I don't know. And that's the thing. We're innovating. We're trying. And not just us. There's other people out there that are doing the same thing. Cavalon in Taiwan. Cotswolds in England. Yeah. We're all trying. I think we're trying to catch up to the palate of the consumer these days. Whereas before, the consumer was all about age statement and how oaky can it be, and this particular brand, right? Now we're seeking out other brands, and it's again like I've said a million times. It's kind of like Netflix, right? When you're done watching a series, well, you might also like this. And that's what I want you guys to get into, is try something different. I know it's hard. It's hard going out there. And I've done 3 episodes on liquor stores. The mistakes finding, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's overwhelming because there's so many brands, there's so many NDPs, there's so many people just taking the same juice and slapping a different label on it. I know, I understand. I get that. And it's hard. It's really hard. But I hope that what I say to you and what I've said to you over the past couple of years in doing all this is, I don't know, I hope it helps in some way, at least. I hope it gets you to understand and appreciate whiskey in a different way. And appreciate it for the person who made it, for the time they had to spend in the barrel, for the workers that were working around it that we've talked to in these podcasts. You know what I mean? I hope it makes you understand it just a little bit more. And that's what I want to showcase with this entire thing. I want to showcase somebody like Caitlin Bartolome from Clear Creek doing amazing things, being a badass. You know what I mean? That's what I want to showcase. But I also want to showcase the little guys like Park Family Farms, who are barely getting stuff in barrels. They're using smaller barrels. They're 150-gallon stills. Like they're barely, I hate to say barely, they're producing product, but like they're barely producing enough product to keep in their tasting room. That's what I'm talking about. I want everyone from MGP to a guy who's maybe can fill up a barrel a week, right? When we talked to Davin Topol over at Real Spirits, right? He was saying on their distillation runs, they have to do 3 spirit runs to fill a barrel. Fill a barrel. That's 3 days to fill a barrel. And then they have to strip all that low wines. It's a lot. It's a lot just to get 1 barrel of whiskey. Like 300 and something bottles, maybe, give or take. And then people complain and moan and bitch about craft whiskey being so expensive. we're dealing with that's what we're dealing with. I'm sorry. So I digress. I'm sorry if I rambled too much. I don't think I did, but I'm sorry if I got a little snotty. I'm actually feeling better now that I've, I guess the whiskey helps. That's all I can say. I do see that my nose is a little red on the sides. I've been blowing it a lot. Anyway, that's TMI, obviously. But I hope that this helps you kind of understand that the whiskey world is changing. There's people out there. People actually care about whiskey now. And I love that. I love that. I love that people are being more informed. I love that people want to go out, sample these whiskeys. They want to go to tastings. They want to go to the Texas Whiskey Festival. They want to go try and do and be. And all these whiskey bars are having a lot more craft whiskeys. We're not all trying to get the Pappy. Would I love to have Pappy? Absolutely. I'm not going to complain if I won one or whatever. You know what I mean? The secondary prices of this world that we live in, unfortunately, no whiskey is worth $6,000. I don't care. Even if I had the money, I wouldn't do it. But I don't have the money, so I'm not going to do it. But even if how do you say this the right way? Even if I had the disposable income to buy whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, I would not spend that absorbent amount of money on whiskey. Here's the deal. I am more about experience. I would rather spend that money to go do a private tasting at Buffalo Trace. Something like that. You know what I mean? I'd rather do that. If I'm going to drink Pappy, right? I'd rather say, hey, I'm going to give you $10,000. You're going to go in the back. We're going to pull a sample out of the Pappy 23 straight out of the barrel. You know what I mean? And they'll do it. I mean, these people are money hungry at this point. I don't need a bottle. I just need a sample. You know what I mean? That I would rather do that. If I was loaded, which I'm not. If I was loaded, that's what I would be doing. You know, I would be going there saying, I want the experience. Because the bottle, yeah, it's cool. But it's nothing without sharing it with friends, family, people you love, and the experience of being around it, being around the whiskey barrels, being at a distillery, being with good friends at a bar or a restaurant where you're having fun and eating food and having a glass of whiskey, or you're sitting around a campfire, right? You're sitting around a campfire and you're having the crappiest whiskey you can find, but that's the best whiskey in the world right there because you're good friends, right? Good family. Hanging out, chilling. And that's what whiskey means to me. Whiskey is the experience. Whiskey is the story behind it. And there's a big story behind whiskey. It doesn't matter what whiskey you like. Whatever whiskey you like, the way you like to drink it, I don't care. Put ice, put soda, I don't care. Just drink whiskey. Hopefully drink whiskey with me. Come hang out. It'll be fun. I promise. Worst case scenario, we'll have some really good whiskey and have a bad time, but most likely we're gonna have a good time, no matter what. If we're drinking whiskey together, it's gonna be a good time because I'm gonna make it a good time and you're gonna make it a good time. That's just it. So I say all that to say this: the whiskey world is changing once again, and we have to jump on and we have to be on board and ready to see where it takes us, because it's not all going to be the same thing over and over again. I love shelf bottles. Don't get me wrong. The shelf bottles are necessary, but innovation, changes, doing different things is what's going to make the whiskey brand different than it ever was before. And I truly believe that. And there are people out there right now, craft distilleries and big brands, changing the way they look at whiskey, changing the way they look at the grains, changing the way they look at the yeast, changing the way they look at the way they're fermenting and all the things, because of people like you and I that are nerding out on the mash bill, on the fermentation, on the thing. And these people are pirating this genre. And it makes me happy. because I want to think that I might have had the slightest help in doing that by talking to the cool people that I have. So I hope that this uplifts your spirits. I hope that it makes you understand that whiskey's going nowhere. We're going to be fine. That life continues on no matter what happens, personally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And I pray that each one of you can find solace and understanding and peace with someone you love, hopefully. And I only say that because I feel that. I feel that. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you very much for listening, for hanging out. Patreon, love you. Shout outs on the next episode. Anyway, y'all be good. And until next time, I think we'll go. Yeah, we're going to have a cool episode next time. And then we'll talk about some really cool stuff. Ready? All right. Until then, keep your spirits up. Peace out.